With the world of coaching evolving and the carousel is always changing, we're going to sit down with some coaches and we're going to figure out why they coach, how they coach, what they coach, and most importantly, we're going to figure out why they chose this profession. My name is Kason Wilkinson, and I'm your host of the Coaches Why podcast. Welcome to the very first episode of the Coaches Why. My name is Kason Wilkinson, and this is the Coaches Why. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about myself, the reason behind this podcast, find out the Coaches Why, who I am, a little bit about myself, and we're going to go into details on the reason why I decided to make this podcast. And I think some of you guys may like it. So a little bit of a rundown about myself. I am a first-year head coach at a big school 5A wrestling program here in New Mexico. And man, it's been awesome. Man, there's been a lot of ups and downs when it comes to learning processes. But overall, man, I'm so excited. I love the sport of wrestling. I wrestled in high school. I wrestled in college. And I had the opportunity to come back to my hometown and become the head coach here after assisting last year, and I couldn't be happier. We're a big school in New Mexico. You know, we have big school, small schools, how they broke it down in divisions for wrestling. So basically 5A or 4A, 5A essentially, or the bigger 4As and 5A schools are a big division, and 2 through 4 or 2 through 3 is essentially small schools. So that's how it's broken down here. So I'm in a big school here, and you know, get to teach the sport wrestling. So the Coaches Why. Why am I making this podcast? What is it about? What are we going to be doing on here? So the Coaches Why. Why? I mean, right? Why do coaches coach? Coaching, in my opinion, over the past, I would say probably 10, 15, maybe 20 years. Obviously, I was in school and a kid. And, you know, if you put 15, 20 years ago, you know, I feel like coaching has become a place where the outside judges very, very hard, right? And this is something we could talk a little bit about when I get other people on here. I'm sure that they will either agree or disagree or tell their opinions. But coaching is one of those things where you have to have a passion for what you're teaching, right? You have to have a passion for the sport, have a passion for the kids, have a passion for what you're doing, right? There's a lot of things that go into coaching, whether you're a head coach, assistant coach, whatever. Time is probably the biggest. Money, you don't get a lot of. You may get it in some areas, right? St. John Bosco football coach probably gets paid 6 figures, right? Bishop Gorman probably gets 6 figures, right? If you're talking about wrestling, Blair Academy or Clovis High School in California probably gets paid pretty well. But Buchanan, but 99% of the high schools and middle schools and even some, you know, lower level colleges don't get paid very well. So you really are doing it for the love of the sport, for the love of teaching, for the love of coaching, right? So why do we do it? Why do we put up with all the BS from the referees, or excuse me, not even the referees, because I feel like the referees and coaches are probably on the same page now when it comes to backlash. But why do we put up with, you know, the parents or the communities or the media that like to really get into coaches' heads or try to get into coaches' heads with what they feel versus what we feel like we know what we're doing? And that's any sport, right? Football, baseball, right? Especially if you're at a state that's all about football or all about baseball, you know, or at a community, you know, you get a lot of either positivity or negativity based off of your success, right? So why do we do it? Why do you choose to be a coach? Why did I choose to be a coach? Well, I knew as soon as I got out of college, as soon as I got done wrestling in college, that I wanted to do this. I don't know what it was. I didn't wrestle for a long time in my life compared to some people. You know, some people wrestle from the time they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I didn't wrestle that long compared to some of these guys. So I knew that I wasn't going to be, you know, this Olympic wrestler. But I love the sport and what it brought to you and what it did for me as a person and the opportunities it opened. So it was easy for me to be like, man, I want to coach this. And so it's one of those things where I just really enjoyed doing it. I had this passion and I wanted to do it. And, I was lucky enough to get opportunity to come back and be assistant, and now I'm here. And there's a lot of opportunity in coaching, right? Obviously, if you're middle school, to have the opportunity to go to high school. Maybe if you start in high school, maybe you want to go to a junior college or an NAIA or whatever, or even D2, whatever, right? Opportunities. And then you just continue to go up the chain to become, this. In my sport particularly, there's no pro, right? You have Olympics. So, you might be able to get opportunity to go coach an Olympic team or whatever, but you're not going to end up on Sean McVay's pay category, right? Nick Saban's pay category. Or Mike McCarthy, whatever, right? Monty Wallace. You're not going to get on the same pay scale as these guys, right? Steve Kerr. But the idea is that you're around the sport because you love it and you want to teach it and you want your athletes to be good at it and what they teach us. So, I think there's more to coaching than a lot of people think. And, so how we're going to structure this podcast, essentially, right? That's kind of enough about my why. I did this because I wanted to. I loved it. I thought I would have a passion for it, and I do. And there's opportunities all over the place if you really are willing to take them. So, and obviously there's more than that. We can dive a little bit deeper into it whenever we sit down with somebody and we can kind of go back and forth about certain things. But the Coach's Why podcast, how it's going to be and how we're probably going to set this up and how we're going to structure it essentially is, we're going to bring guests on here. We're going to bring other coaches, whether they're in the game, first year, third year, 10th year, 30th year, retired, whatever. We're going to bring coaches on here and we're going to talk a little bit about their why. We're just going to kind of go back and forth, right? I mean, we're going to talk about why they chose coaching, a lot of whys in it, and obviously how and what and everything like that, backgrounds, just to get to know people, because in this type of podcast scene, you'll excuse me, you'll find people in podcasts that have, professional coaches on there, right? NHL, NFL, NBA, right? MLB, whatever. GMs, all these people, even maybe some really successful salespeople who used to play sports that are now in the world of sales or whatever they're doing. But there's not a lot of podcasts that talk to just normal coaches, right? Coaches who do this because they love it, because it's something that they want to do, and sometimes just because they might not have even thought about it. But ideally, this is kind of, we're going to get coaches on here that I think we can actually touch the masses for 99 to 98% of the coaches in this country, maybe even world. And we're just going to get them on here and we're going to discuss, about who they are, why they're here, and hopefully be able to spread some knowledge between myself and them, and then, onto you guys as the listeners. So, this is kind of what it's going to be, right? We're going to talk for a little while. We're going to talk to these people, get a breakdown on them and understand their why and go from there. So, with all that being said, I want to say thank you guys for listening and being a part of this very first podcast about myself, who I am, the small breakdown about what I do in my coaching situation. And we're just going to keep growing, right? Episode 1, down. Great job. Round of applause, right? And we're just going to keep on going. We're going to keep on chewing. We're going to talk to as many coaches as possible. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to me. And I hope you guys are ready to tune in for the next one when we get our first guest on this podcast and we really start figuring out these coaches' whys in different sports, of all sports, right? All different levels, middle school, high school, college, whatever. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.